Yeah, good morning, guys. In this session, we are going to discuss about the activity life cycle. Uh, Before we discuss about the activity life cycle, let us recap what we discussed in the previous session. We discussed the four application components: the activities, services, broadcast receivers, and content providers. And in this session, we are going to discuss specifically about the activity life cycle. So all the application components have the life cycle. They start when an Android starts an instance of a component, and it goes till it's destroyed. Um, Before we discuss further, let us discuss about the states that we have in an activity. We have three states. First is active, paused, and the third is stopped. An activity is in active state if it is currently on the foreground and is in focus for the user's action. And activity is in past state if it is covered by a new activity that is either transparent or covered by a new activity that doesn't cover the complete screen. An activity in stop state if it's completely obscured by a new activity. So a new activity completely covers the existing activity. So at that point we say that activity is in stopped state. Now let's discuss about the lifetime of an activity. An activity has 7 methods. All the 7 methods are hooks that you can add code to these methods so that it does the appropriate operations that you deserve. Let's have a look at the 7 methods that we have. So this is overall the activity life cycle. We have on create, on start, on restart, on resume, on pause, on stop, and on destroy. So this we call the activity life cycle methods. So and this we have 3 loops basically. The first loop is between the on create and on stop, and the second loop is between the on start and on stop, and the third loop is on resume and on pause. So we have the topmost loop, and the second one is between on stop, and third one is between on resume and on pause. So the entire lifetime of an activity starts when a call to on create is made till the point to on destroy is made. So on create we basically use to create a new activity. It also does global initialization, like creating views, and you can also the on create it is passed in a bundle object that stores the previous state of an object provided it is stored. This we will discuss on how the state of an activity is stored in the on save instant and the on restore instant states later. And the on destroy method is used basically to release all the resources. For example, if you have an activity and that needs to download the data, so what you do is you create a thread. You may create a thread in the on create, and then release the thread in the on destroy. Now getting on to the visible lifetime of an activity. The visible lifetime of an activity happens between a call to on start until a call to on stop is made. During the visible lifetime, of an activity, the activity becomes visible to the user, though it may not be in the foreground interacting with the user. And the visible activity happens between the on start and on stop. A simple example can be here the broadcast receivers, where you register the broadcast receiver in the on start method and you unregister it in the on stop method. And moving on to the foreground life of an activity, it starts between a call to on resume and till on pause is called. So during the foreground life of an activity, the activity is in the foreground and it starts interacting with the user. And the code inside the on pause should be lightweight, because the new activity is not going to be resumed until it returns. Now let's discuss the very important life cycle, activity life cycle. Let's start with the onCreate method. The onCreate method is used to do the static initialization, create views, and it's passed a bundle object that contains the state of the activity before it started, and that bundle object has the data provided the state of the activity stored in the onSave instance state. Now let's move on to the onRestart method. This onRestart method is called after onStop and just prior to it being started again. And the onStart method executes just before the activity is displayed to the user. And onStart method is followed by onResume or onStop. Now let's move on to the onResume. The onResume method is executed just before the activity becomes available to the user. And now getting on to the on pause state. This is very important method in the activity life cycle, because this is typically used to commit unsaved changes, that is used to store persistent data, to stop animations, and to stop anything that consumes the CPU. And please bear in mind that the on pause method should be lightweight, because only after the execution of the on pause method the new activities will be resumed. And the on pause is followed by on stop or on resume. And on stop is called if the activity is no longer visible to the user. This can happen because the system has destroyed the activity, or a new activity has started. And so once a new activity started, the current activity is hidden to the user. So in such cases, on stop is executed. Now let's getting on to the on destroy method. On destroy is used to destroy all the activities. There are two cases here. One is either the system can destroy an activity, or destroy is called because the activity has to finish. So, and the activity can finish by calling finish method, So to identify whether an activity has been destroyed by a system or through an activity finish method, we can use the is finishing. And this is the overall life cycle. So we have three killable methods: the on pause, on stop, and on destroy. Just please bear in mind, the on pause is always called, and it's guaranteed to be called, when a system identifies an activity that's vulnerable to getting destroyed. So you are going to store all the data that's needed for you to recreate the previous state in the on pause. We also have the two other methods: the on save instance state and on restore instance state. Both these methods are not part of lifecycle methods. They are not always called. For example, an activity can get destroyed when the user presses the back key. So in such cases, these methods are not called. So you may have questions. So when are these methods going to be called? So these are called only when the system destroys the